So 3 out of 4 marketers say they're satisfied with their current job. Also, 3 out of 4 marketers are actively, highly, or moderately interested in finding a new one in the next 12 months. Now, I know what you're thinking. Those two things can't both be true at the same time. That's a contradiction. It's a paradox. It's a data error. But it's not. It's actually a strategy. And once you see what's actually going on here, you're going to look at your marketing team very differently. Don't go anywhere. Hey, welcome back. I'm Robert Rose, Chief Strategy Advisor at the Content Marketing Institute, and this is episode 3 of my Ghost Workforce series. It's built around CMI's 2026 Career and Salary Outlook research, 600 plus full-time marketing professionals telling us in remarkable detail what is actually going on inside their careers right now. And episode 1, the first one, was about what I called the ghost workforce itself, how 3 in 4 marketers are now doing the work of more than one person while organizations all point at AI and say, that's our staffing strategy. Then last week, episode 2 was about what we called the empty pipeline. What happens when companies stop hiring junior level talent, that first rung on the career ladder, and why the bill on that particular bet is going to come due in a way that's going to be really hard to explain to a board in the future. And this episode, episode 3, is about something that I think may be the most psychologically interesting finding in the entire data set, because it's not about what organizations are doing to marketers. It's about what marketers have decided to do about all this stuff that's going on. They've updated their risk models and they're building what I'm calling the career hedge, and they're running it quietly, competently, and completely in parallel with their current jobs right now, probably on your team. So let's get into it. So a few months ago, I was talking to a senior content strategist at a mid-sized tech company, and she'd taken on a small freelance project at a nonprofit. Few hours a month, almost no money. And when I said, why? Well, she said, I want to keep my, as she's put it, knife sharp. In other words, to stay up on storytelling and social engagement, the stuff her day job wasn't really asking her to do much of anymore. And I asked if she was planning on leaving her job, and then she kind of looked at me the way my cat used to look at me when the breakfast was dry kibble instead of great tuna fish, and she said, no, I've been laid off before. I know how this all works. You see, to paraphrase David Bowie's classic song, she's immune to your consultation. She's quite aware of what she's going through, and she's not alone. CMI's data shows that 22% of full-time employed marketers freelance now on the side. 1 in 5 people on your team statistically has a client relationship outside of your organization. And the money is almost beside the point. Nearly a quarter of below manager level marketers who freelance take home less than $1,000 a year from that side work. Nobody's building an agency at those numbers. What they're building is infrastructure, warm networks, a portfolio that exists outside the walls of one employer, a professional identity that doesn't depend on your single company's org chart or a budget cycle. We're calling it the career hedge, and it is now the default behavior of even satisfied, well-compensated marketing professionals. All right, let's get into what's really going on here, because I think there are a few layers that might be easy to miss on the first pass. So let's start with the headline numbers, because they're genuinely wild when you put them next to each other. So 75% of marketers say they are very or somewhat satisfied with their current job. That's great, right? That's a strong number. That's a close the report and let's go have pizza number, right? If you're a marketing leader, this is wonderful news. But 71% are also actively, highly, or moderately interested in pursuing a new career or a role in the next 12 months. Only 29% say they have little or no interest in looking. Now, my first instinct, and I think most people's first instinct, is that something may be broken in that data. Those two things contradict each other, or they seem to. Satisfied people don't look for new jobs, do they? Except that's not what's happening. And this is the reframe that I think is really, really important. So my first instinct was that maybe this is a job hugging thing, right? People performing, hey, I'm satisfied because they're scared of losing what they have, right? Keep my head down. Say the right things in the engagement survey. Don't attract attention. Don't call attention to yourself. But the more I dug into it, the more I realized that's not it either. What's actually happening is that people have updated their risk models. And those updates are completely rational given what the last 2 years have looked like from inside the marketing team. Other data show that layoffs jumped 30% in 2 years. 43% of organizations laid off marketing staff in the last 12 months alone. At companies with more than 1,000 employees, that number climbs to almost nearly 2 in 3. The average job search now takes 5.2 months, up from 3.1 months in 2024. 75% of marketers say that now finding a job is way more challenging than it was 2 years ago. And people have watched what happens when companies decide to do the move fast and break things thing. Pink slips on a Monday morning, no warning, no runway, and people are watching. So, staying professionally ready, regardless of whether you're actively searching, is not disloyalty. For these marketers, it's arithmetic. I mean, it is what a rational person does when they've watched colleagues get blindsided by those Monday morning pink slips. And here's the part that I think is even more interesting. So historically, a brutal job market suppresses job searching, right? The conventional wisdom and the data for decades was when exits are hard to find, people stop looking. They stay put. They job hug. They get quiet. That is not what's happening in 2026. LinkedIn's labor market data shows that over half, 52% of the global workforce say they are actively job hunting this year. Unemployment, however, for marketing managers sits at 3.3%. In other words, most people applying for jobs already have one. Think about what that means competitively. Historically, when you applied for a role, you were almost always competing with other out-of-work people. But now you're competing with a tsunami of employed colleagues who are, just testing the waters, chumming the waters, seeing if there's a shark there, seeing if something bites. The vast majority of them aren't planning to leave. They're just checking the market value, keeping the options warm. It's easy to click that Indeed button or that LinkedIn button. This is the career hedge, and it's not a moonlighting problem or a loyalty problem. It's a rational portfolio strategy executed by very smart marketing practitioners who understand the market that they're operating in. Now, in my article this week, I used sort of an analogy of a landlord, right? And it's one that I keep coming back to because I think it captures the dynamic better than anything else I've seen. When companies spend years signaling through layoffs, through AI efficiency narratives, headcount freezes, technology, role consolidations, that their people are interchangeable, well, the people receive that message clearly. Marketers specifically are experts at reading this because it's kind of the job to read the market. And when they receive that message, some of them stop acting like owners and they start acting like tenants. You see, owners invest their best thinking because they believe in what it is they're building at the job they're in. Tenants maintain the minimum and leave when something better comes along. You can't build an enduring marketing organization based on occupancy. You need people who think like owners. But if you've been treating people like tenants, interchangeable, temporary, easily replaced when the lease runs out, well, don't be surprised when they act like it. They keep the lights on, they show up, they deliver, they smile in the town hall, they're in the building, they're on the payroll. But the best parts of them, the parts that drive growth and creative breakthrough and deliver wisdom, they didn't buy into that. So what do you actually do about this? Because I don't want to just lay out a depressing diagnosis and leave you there. There's a few things that we can be doing that are worth doing for marketing leaders specifically. First, stop assuming that engagement scores tell you who's at risk of leaving. The research makes this very clear. Satisfied and actively looking are not mutually exclusive categories anymore. They can be the same person. And often, by the way, the people most likely to leave are the ones who look fine on paper, high performers who carry more than their share of the load and maintain their options precisely because they know what they're worth in the marketplace. Second, invest seriously in soft skill development. And I know I've said this in various forms and in various ways for the last few months, it feels like at least 10 times this year. But here's why this career hedge data makes this more urgent. Look at what full-time employed marketers are doing in their freelance side work. The research shows that it's writing, storytelling, strategy, editing, the craft skills, the creative skills, the ones their day jobs ask them to use less and less and less as AI absorbs some of those production work issues. They aren't going outside their organizations to learn new tools. They're going outside to keep doing the work that they got in this industry to do in the first place. Only 25% of marketers say they are very satisfied with their organization's career development opportunities. That is a massive gap. Marketers who see a real pattern toward working inside their organization, actual skill investment, actual promotion possibility, actual growth, well, they are significantly less likely to need to build a career hedge elsewhere. And I want to be really specific here. That's not more AI training. They're not freelancing to learn a new platform. They're freelancing to stay sharp at the fundamentally human parts of the job. Third, have the conversation before it becomes a resignation. If you have a high-value team member you suspect is hedging, and statistically you probably do, ask them directly what they're working toward and what you can do to help get them there. Most people aren't building a career hedge because they want to leave. They're hedging because no one has given them a compelling reason to stay. That's a solvable problem. A resignation just isn't. Let me come back to the David Bowie quote for just a second, that great lyric, right? She's immune to your consultation. She's quite aware of what she's going through. That line, which is obviously from a very different context, a very different time, well, it's doing a lot of work in this conversation because the wake-up call for marketing leadership isn't actually the risk that your people are going to leave. Your data shows they're staying. The real danger is they'll stop caring. They'll stop caring about increasing their value to you. They will deepen their wisdom. They will sharpen their skills. They will build their networks, and they'll do all of it on your time, in your building, on your payroll, because you've given them no compelling reason to do it for your brand. I'll say it really plainly. If you treat your marketers like tenants, they will act like tenants. They will maintain the minimum. They will keep the lights on. They will deliver what's required and protect their energy for the things they're building on the sign. Now, they signed a lease. They didn't buy in. And here's the final question I want to leave you with, the one I ended the article on this week. Your satisfied employees, those ones that are satisfied, employed, fully hedged marketing team, they're quite aware of what they're going through. The question is, are you? Full piece is linked in the description. Read it. There's data and nuance there that I didn't have time to cover today. And if you're a marketing leader, I genuinely encourage you to sit with it before your next team meeting. Next week, by the way, is episode 4, the finale of the Ghost Workforce series, and it might be the most uncomfortable one yet. We're going to talk about the skills trap, why marketers say they believe strategy and creativity matter most, and why we are collectively, systematically building our careers around exactly the wrong things. I'll see you then. Until that time, it's your story and it's their story. Make sure you understand both and tell them well. I'll see you next week.